leave a like and subscribe.
They've been typecast now as criminal celebrities, as celebrity villains, and the picture people have of them is really the picture that came over in that film of them called The Krays. And also, you know, all the sort of gangster reminiscences which have come out of them, which really carry one's knowledge of them no further. Of course, they were gangsters, they committed murder and all the rest of it, but behind it all, I think there was the most terrible, sad story, which is of these identical twins, and one of them was abnormal. He'd been damaged mentally as a child by getting, as far as I can make out, a combination of measles and diphtheria together. Ronnie wasn't normal. Reg was.
He was feared, and anybody that said they wasn't frightened of him is telling lies. You know, I mean, I've heard loads of rubbish in the papers and seen all the rest of it. And I tell you what, if the man was alive today, they would be shitting themselves, you know, in case he did ever get out.
Reg, all his life, had this thing that he had to look after this sick, unstable, identical twin brother, and he did look after him. The only trouble was that the unstable, mentally sick twin was the dominant. If Ronnie hadn't been quite so balmy and hadn't killed George Cornell, because he's supposed to have called him the Fat Poof, they'd be stone-rich geezers. They were in most of the frauds in the East End, a lot of protection, a lot of rackets. They really, really didn't need to kill people. But once that killing had happened, then that increased their terror ratio enormously, you see, particularly with Ronnie. He was a paranoid schizophrenic and he was mad. But he was fascinated by this whole illusory world of gangsterdom. For Ronnie, I think the barriers between real crime and film crime were very blurred, and I think he often stepped over it.
I know what fear is. I had nightmares today over what Ronnie Kray done to me. Walked up the stairs in their gambling club, and as I got halfway up, I see all these geezers standing this side and that side, and I thought, it's on me. Come in then, with his sloppy voice. Come in then, nothing wrong. I said, all right, well, yeah, sit down. He set me in the armchair. As he's turned, I see this big range cooker. I thought he was just trying to frighten me. When he started burning me with my suit and my hair, and I thought the man's fucking crazy, you know? How can the same man do that to anybody, like, you know? But he never finished there. He said, I'm going to burn your fucking eyes out. I thought myself, I'm dead. Anyway, someone out the back said, no, Ron, not that. And all of a sudden he went, just like that. He stopped. He went, okay, you can go now. I've been in pubs in the East End, and the Krays would come in, and the pub had empty. People were so afraid of them.
They could both be very, very violent. Yeah. Ronnie was the more violent one, but Reggie was the worst one to upset. If Ron never had his medication, as he told me, he said, I would go mad. He said, you know, they're the only thing that really stopped me from going insane. He used to rant and lose his temper, and his face used to really distort. But Reggie was very calm. He'd done things very coldly, you know. If he was going to stab you, he'd just stab you.
I think where Ronnie would have killed in anger, Reggie would have killed in hate. I can remember someone coming into the club and Reggie Kray shoving a comb through their cheeks. Reggie had a long-tailed aluminium-type comb, steel comb, which he shoved through the man's cheeks, both cheeks, tied in a knot. They rolled him up in a carpet and took him out.
They weren't rough, really rough people. They were quite gentlemen, you know. It was only if you crossed their path the wrong way that you suffered.
Upsetting the Krays brought swift retribution.
And Reggie had a big 8-inch hunting knife with a barbed edge on it. And he stuck it through Mickey Morris's arm, and obviously he screamed. I said, pack it up, because I said, you're going to have people run up the stairs. And Ronnie said, never mind about packing it up. He said, do it properly, Reg, do it properly. Put it up his guts, put it up his guts.
Violence begot violence. They knew it paid off. So, being twins, the Krays, everybody feared them.
This tremendous power to terrify was the Kray twins' greatest weapon.
Ronnie just had to glare at some people and they'd shit themselves. That was one of his favourite tricks. He would sit in a pub or a club where we were, and people would be brought in for various reasons, and he could just sit there and stare at this person for half an hour, and that person he hasn't said a word to him, and that person's gone away and thoroughly cowed, you know. He'd been told off without a word. That was how much fear that he generated.
When I first knew them, I found them very amusing in a way, you know. And though there was the excitement and danger around them, I used to laugh at their antics, you know.
I've met them many Saturday mornings. They were always getting themselves nicked on Friday night and appearing in court on Saturday morning.
It was when all this killing and all that come about that they got worse than everybody else.
And you, as young men, aligned yourself with Billy Hill.
He's a very good person. I liked him a lot.
So were you his protégés?
Yeah, you could say that, yeah.
Well, Reggie might say that Billy Hill was his role model because he was smarter, he was, in his opinion, cleverer than Spot, and he was also, in Reggie's opinion, more like Reggie than Ronnie.
When we was going racing, he called us to his flat in Bayswater, and he turned around and said, "Oh, if you're going racing, I'll give you my pitch to go to," which we was very pleased about. He said William Hill was his name, correct name, and it was also the correct name of winning all the bookmakers. He had a court case with the particular bookmakers because they said he was promoting money on their name, which he wasn't. He won the case and he beat him.
Esmeralda's was in Knightsbridge, and I think this was one of the things that led to their downfall, because they really, they were off their manner.
It was a big mistake because instead of leaving it alone and keeping away from there and just popping their head in now and again, they took the East End to Knightsbridge. You had second cousins to the Queen and all that going in there, all high people, all with something wrong with them. I'm sorry, you know, every one of them had something wrong with them. They liked boys, or if it was a woman, she'd be a lesbian or something like that, you know, all cranky, all a lot of them. But Ronnie, you couldn't sit him amongst them type of people. I suppose the Knightsbridge set, they found it amusing to start with seeing all these scar faces and pug uglies roaming around. But they're sitting down with a East End cab driver and a lord and lady, somebody sitting the other side, you know, and then of course, when a few checks were made out and they were a bit late being honoured, the twins wouldn't 2 or 3 weeks go by and they would be around putting pickaxes through Rolls Royces and things like that, you know.
The next club there was the Kentucky, which had a big splash there, a lot of celebrities there. They knew one thing about them, they did know a lot of good top celebrities, you know what I mean? Judy Garland, as you know, all them sort of people.
and it was always packed 7 days a week. But again, the twins never earned no money out of clubs, because the simple reason is everyone would come in, they was buying drinks for.
They put their money about. They had no sense with money. Money was worthless to them. They just spent it as fast as they got it and give it away. If you said to him, I like your watch, he'd take it off and give it to you. He was so generous in that way, you know.
For Ronnie, it was never really about money. For Reggie, it was really about money. Reggie wanted to be an adept businessman. Ronnie would never allow it. Ronnie would go to where they were working, and he would take whatever he wanted, whatever it was, right? If they had £200 in the till, he'd give me £150.
There they all were, in this background of 60s culture booming around the West End and the Chelsea set and this whole area. And they were this weird pair. And the weirdest of the two was Ron, and he became weirder and weirder and more popular, more and more talked about. Well, popular, he was talked about, he was feared, he was an unbelievable character.
It was like a family home, you know? And it was just a small little terraced house. And the twins and the mum and dad slept upstairs. There was a front room and a little kitchen, you know? It was a tiny little place.
And I knocked at the door, and that's where I met this woman that was really to change my life. It was a come in, darling, do you want a cup of tea? The typical little East End mum she was, who was small and blonde and very cheerful and accommodating, welcoming to people. And I just felt at ease. And I noticed that all around this kitchen was hanging on hangers these pure white washed and ironed and starched shirts. And I said, you know, who are all these shirts for? She said, they're for my twins.
It was the cleanest, most polished house I've ever seen, and decorated in the style of a canal longboat, with pictures of Rochester Castle and roses and, you know, the traditional type of decoration. Lots of polished brass. Each interior door had a white lace curtain over it, tied back with pink bows. It was something unique.
There was a superabundance of kitsch. I've never seen so much, including this wonderful mirror shaped like a guitar hanging from one wall over the sideboard.
Fort Valence, that was the nickname. And sometimes you deserved it because they had everything in there, guns, knives, you name it.
I went to Fort Valence on one occasion. After we'd had a victory in the magistrates' court, I went back with my instructing solicitor's managing clerk, who was a wonderful old character called Paddy Pakenham, who knew all the East End villains, and we had tea, and Violet gave us tea. And so I saw Fort Valence. It was an extraordinary experience because there was a conference going on in each room over different matters, and Violet presiding at the bottom in her curlers, and she brought tea and entrees up to each conference room. I've never seen anything like it before or since, and it was Violet's pride and joy in her kingdom.
She was a lovely woman. She's a typical mum, East End mum. I used to take my kids around there, and she would get them by their hand and take them in the kitchen, give them something to eat and make them a sandwich, and she was a typical East End mother, and very kind and affectionate. And I mean, she loved the twins like any mother. They can't see no harm in them, and obviously she must have worried about them and what they were doing, but I mean, they never spoke in front of her. It was always in another room. Nothing was ever said in front of Violet.
At the end, she must have sort of known what they was, you know, what they was up to and that, because the house was that small, you couldn't really talk in there and she couldn't hear.
People used to come out of prison, say, and knock on the door at Valence Road. No one was ever turned away. No one. They always give them £20, which was a lot of money them days.
The Kray twins were arrested after a night out at the Astor Club. Armed police broke down the door of the council flat where they still lived with their mum. A total of 26 people were arrested as the police rounded up the firm. They had believed they were untouchable, but their power depended on fear, and now there was no one left to enforce it. One by one, witnesses came forward to testify against the Krays. Ronnie boasted that if he hadn't been in court, he'd probably have been with Judy Garland. But his days of mingling with celebrities were over. For murdering Cornell and McVitie, the twins got life with a 30-year recommendation.
It was a reflection of what the judge felt was the right penalty for the crimes that they'd committed. I think he saw them for what they were, as arrogant, dictatorial leaders of a gang that had warped the society of the East End, committed brazen and quite gratuitous murders without regard to the lives and the considerations of other people, and they terrorised the whole of an area of London.
I sat next to Violet Kray at the trial on a couple of occasions, and as the witnesses were going into the box and informing on them now that they were incarcerated, Nipper Reed had got to the witnesses and they were all informing. She was turning to me and saying, why are these people telling these lies? These people have sat in my house and drunk my tea, ate my sandwiches. They've been looked after by the twins. They've been bought suits and cars and watches. Why are they doing this? She totally believed that it was all lies, that they'd been got at by the police to put the two boys away, or three boys away, I should say, but particularly the twins. And she just didn't believe it till the very, very last day. Even when they were sentenced to that, she just didn't believe what they did.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly, moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.
Leave a like and subscribe.